The Canal Park is located on Canal Road in Circleville, Ohio. It has been open since 2002 and has currently been running for 11 years. Um, since the park was created, they have attained a total of 55 acres of land, and they attained some of that land in 1999 when they purchased the land from Mr. Richards. The park is open from sunrise to sunset, and it is only closed on holidays and when Dale Rogers, who opens and closes the gates, cannot make it to the park, and on certain days like Community Care Day and cleanup days.
The people we interviewed were part of the Canal Committee and the Pickaway County Historical and Genealogical Society.
Good job. In what year did you buy the land for the park?
Well, Michaela, right? We purchased the property for the park in 2002. And I basically was asked to join the group so I could help raise the money to purchase the land.
Exactly how many women are in the Canal Committee?
Well, right now, I'm the only woman, but there were others. Judy Palm was secretary of the Historical Society for a while, and she was on the committee, and I enjoyed her company. And there's a lot of help when we have an affair out at the park. A lot of the wives help, so I have company for a lot of things.
You said you were responsible for like raising the money.
Right.
So what did that consist of?
Well, we decided to send letters to all the businesses and all the industry in the community, and we also sent letters to all the members of the Historical Society. And we got our pledges immediately, and people pledged for over 3 years and paid them off, and then we purchased the land. Actually, we probably purchased the land before the pledges were paid off. And if you visit the Canal Park, there's a monument out there with all the names on it.
So exactly how much money did the people donate over the
We
3-year span?
We raised about $46,000.
How much money did each person probably donate?
I can't really say that. Number one, that's probably private.
Yeah.
And we were just thrilled to death to
Have people donate.
that's right, get the people to donate, and it went quite well. It was a very good campaign. I've been on many fundraising campaigns in Circleville and in Pickaway County, and this one was very easy.
When I went to the park, it was rather big. How many acres does it consist of?
I think there's about 50.
50?
About 50 acres. And the men work really hard to take care of it. And one thing I wanted to emphasize is that we established an endowment with the Pickaway County Community Foundation, and that's for further maintenance of the park, so that's a very good thing. We're in good hands as far as the future is concerned, as long as we get young people like you that want to be on the Canal Committee someday.
Exactly like how many people are on the committee itself?
Well, we probably have about 15, between 15 and 20 altogether. There's probably a nucleus that's very active, and then when we have like cleanup days or canal days or something like that, then everyone kind of pitches in and sees that those things are successful.
And you said that the canal is only closed like certain days of the year. What are some of the days that's like closed?
I have absolutely no idea, but I would say probably the same days that most things are closed. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving maybe. I don't know exactly what days they don't open the gates, but I'm sure there's not very many.
Hi, John.
I'm John Barnhart. I'm with the Canal Committee. I'm co-chairman of it. What questions you have?
Okay, I was wondering, why did the Pickaway Historical Society want to make the park?
Well, first of all, we wanted to get the land that saved the canal itself, so it looked, so someone in the rest of the county could see a nice park. Why did we build it? For the rest of the people could go out there and enjoy themselves. Second thing is, it also since we, as you know, they donated money so we could buy it. So then therefore we wanted to have something to pay them back. Is that understandable there?
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, for my second question, what led up to the park being made? Like, what steps did you take to make it?
First of all, we started cleanup, which Bill put into it. Then eventually we bought the park, so we still can keep cleaning it up. As you know, it's been used as a garbage dump since the 30s. And you can't train people to do that, so you have to clean it up every year. Thank heavens to some of the community, I'm going to say, Ohio Christian University brings a certain day during the year, and they help us tremendously clean it up at least once a year. And we have our own little cleanup every couple months. And let's see, there is one other thing. The Department of Natural Resources has leased us some land of 5 acres. And another thing is,
Another question is, what new things have you found at the park?
I can say some old things we found at the park. You don't probably know, most people don't know this, but there's an Indian Village site at the park that is close to there. What other things? We always find different pots of junk in there.
But is that all? Nothing that you guys have found left over from the old canal?
Yeah, no, we do have in the shelter house an old log that came from it.
Okay.
And there are some, well, there's still some of the frame from the entrance into the canal, your feeder canal.
Yeah.
The blocks are still there from that.
Okay. Thank you. With that.
I'm William, or Bill Richards. I live out on the canal west of Circleville.
What was your role in making the park possible?
Well, first, I'm the neighbor. I'm the farmer on both sides of the canal. So my role was getting a partner like the Historical Society to take care of the canal, to make it a good neighbor, and for people to benefit from the use of the canal. Because we also benefit because we have to look at it every day. Influenced me.
What influenced you to sell the land to the committee?
Okay, ready? Well, what really influenced me was it was needed. It was the land that contained the feeder canal that we owned, and there was also about 18 acres that we weren't using. So we thought that was the best use for the land, was to sell it to the Historical Society and to make a park.
What was the cost that you sold the land for, and what was included in the sale?
Well, we sold the land for $45,000, but that was that included us fixing it up. That included taking all the brush and trees. It was old gravel pit. It was old refuse. There was lots of problems there, and we cleaned all that up. We reformed the east side of the canal bank and made a replica of what the canal probably looked like. And then we leveled off an area in the bottom for a recreational field or anything they want to use it for. And we leveled another place to build a shelter house. We also mow that with our farm mowers about 4 or 5 times a year. In fact, I mowed it last week. So big part. Okay.
We ran out of time.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm John Gary Drummond. I live there 5 Points Ohio.
Okay. And how did you get involved with the canal?
Well, around 2005, Ken Speakman, who was co-chairman of the Canal Committee for Pickaway County Historic Society, asked me to join the Canal Committee and help them with their work down there. So I became involved in that respect.
Okay.
What are some of the days that's like closed?
I have absolutely no idea, but I would say probably the same days that most things are closed. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, maybe. I don't know exactly what days they don't open the gates, but I'm sure there's not very many.
So who are you? Or hold on, let me restart. Okay, what's your name?
I'm John Gary Drummond. I live near 5 Points, Ohio.
Okay. And how did you get involved with the canal?
Well, around 2005, Ken Speakman, who was co-chairman of the Canal Committee for Pickaway County Historical Society, asked me to join the Canal Committee and help them with their work down there. And so I became involved in that respect.
Okay. In refurbishing the park, like to make it presentable, what did you guys have to do?
Well, at the point I was involved, they already had a nice shelter house and the monument in front of it, the flagpole, and things were actually a pretty good looking park at that time. But there was always the work of cleaning up trash that people would leave and eventually putting up signs to tell people what they could or couldn't do, which we got done in the last couple of years. And of course, holding the cleanup day in April, and then hosting the general meeting of the Pickaway County Historical and Genealogical Society in September for what we call Canal Days.
Mm-hmm.
So there was things that kept us busy.
Okay. Okay, what's your name?
I'm John Gary Drummond. I live near 5 Points, Ohio.
Okay. And how did you get involved with the canal?
Well, around 2005, Ken Speakman, who was co-chairman of the Canal Committee for Pickaway County Historical Society, asked me to join the Canal Committee and help them with their work down there. And so I became involved in that respect.
Okay. In refurbishing the park, like to make it presentable, what did you guys have to do?
Well, at the point I was involved, they already had a nice shelter house and the monument in front of it, the flagpole, and things were actually a pretty good looking park at that time. But there was always the work of cleaning up trash that people would leave and eventually putting up signs to tell people what they could or couldn't do, which we got done in the last couple of years. And of course, holding the cleanup day in April, and then hosting the general meeting of the Pickaway County Historical and Genealogical Society in September for what we call Canal Days.
Mm-hmm.
So there was things that kept us busy.
Okay. Did you have to clear trees? Like, what is the upkeep of the park?
Well, when I first got involved, there was some of the volunteers like Denny Welch and Robert Moore, Paul Hang, and some others that were generally always busy cutting up down trees and removing brush and stuff that needed to be taken care of at the park. And so I occasionally helped them a little bit. And then over the years, since 2005, I became more and more involved. Finally, I was elected to the Board of Trustees for the Historical Society. And at some point 2 or 3 years ago, the two co-chairmen of the Canal Committee, that was Ken Speakman and Steve Jones, turned that position over to John Barnhart and myself to be the co-chairs of the Canal Committee. So from that point on, we've been trying to make.
That's about all I have. That's that I have to do.
Okay, my name is Kenneth Speakman. I'm a trustee with the Pickaway County Historical Society and the Pickaway County Canal Committee. And of course, we own the Ohio Erie Canal.
Can you explain your involvement in making the park?
Yeah, it started in 1999, right after I retired. Steve Jones and myself and Bill Richards were instrumental in acquiring the canal from the state of Ohio because they were going to abandon it and we wanted to try to preserve it.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell me more about the building of the shelter house and the decision to make it?
Yes, we acquired the original 2.5 miles of the canal in March of 1999, and we finished the cleanup by about May of 2002. And then we acquired 20 more acres from Richards Land Company, which contained a historic site on it. The water gate that fed the Ohio-Erie Canal is located on this, and we wanted to preserve it. So on that 20-acre site, on the higher ground, we did build a shelter house, and we put up a sign about the Ohio Historical Society owning, or the Pickaway County Historical Society owning the canal.
Can you tell me more about the building of the shelter house and the decision to make it?
Yes, we acquired the original 2.5 miles of the canal in March of 1999, and we finished the cleanup by about May of 2002. And then we acquired 20 more acres from Richards Land Company, which contained a historic site on it. The water gate that fed the Ohio-Erie Canal is located on this, and we wanted to preserve it. So on that 20-acre site, on the higher ground, we did build a shelter house, and we put up a sign about the Ohio Historical Society owning, or the Pickaway County Historical Society owning the canal.
Do you have any other further involvement within the park? Are you working there on a daily basis or doing things to clean it up and make it better?
Well, of course, it's a high maintenance situation at the canal park because we have approximately 30 acres that we have to maintain, and so it requires mowing every 10 days, and we have a committee that handles this, and there's probably around 15 people that volunteer their time to keep it cleaned up. And of course, you know, we have people like students come out occasionally and help clean it up too, but it's an ongoing process.
Can you tell me more about the building of the shelter house and the decision to make it?
Yes, we acquired the original 2.5 miles of the canal in March of 1999, and we finished the cleanup by about May of 2002. And then we acquired 20 more acres from Richards Land Company, which contained a historic site on it. The water gate that fed the Ohio-Erie Canal is located on this, and we wanted to preserve it. So on that 20-acre site, on the higher ground, we did build a shelter house, and we put up a sign about the Ohio Historical Society owning, or the Pickaway County Historical Society owning the canal.
Do you have any other further involvement within the park? Are you working there on a daily basis or doing things to clean it up and make it better?
Well, of course, it's a high maintenance situation at the canal park because we have approximately 30 acres that we have to maintain, and so it requires mowing every 10 days, and we have a committee that handles this, and there's probably around 15 people that volunteer their time to keep it cleaned up. And of course, you know, we have people like students come out occasionally and help clean it up too, but it's an ongoing process. Okay, in order to build this shelter house and on the property that we acquired from the Richards, the 20 acres, we had to raise about $60,000. And the $60,000 included the purchase of the 20 acres plus the building of the shelter house. So the way we did this is we got 100 people that would give us $600, and they could give us the $600 in $100 increments over a 6-year period. So, or a 5-year period. So that's exactly how we built it. It was there was no outside money from the Historical Society. It was all donated money.
It all started when Ethan Allen Brown convinced the Ohio legislature to establish the Ohio Canal Commission. Its purpose was to acquire land from the U.S. government by buying or having it being donated to the Canal Commission. The survey was not completed, and in 1822, the Ohio legislature realized the canal's importance and created a new Ohio Canal Commission. The commission first hired James Geeds, who had worked on the Erie Canal in New York, and Geeds proposed 3 different routes for bus travel in connection to Lake Erie from the Ohio River. The first route ran along the Maumee and Miami rivers, the second was along the Scioto and Sandusky rivers, and the last was along the Muskingum and Cuyahoga. The commission received its initial loan for construction from bankers and businessmen living along the East Coast, mostly farming companies who would benefit from the canal in Ohio. The initial loan was $400,000. It was estimated that it would cost $2.3 million, while the Miami and Erie cost $2.0 million. After the construction was over, the canal cost $41 million total, $25 million, which was interest loans, to the Canal Fund Commission. But it wasn't until April 1828 that planners decided to include Circleville on the canal route. The Ohio and Erie Canal reached Circleville in 1831, linking it to Lake Erie in the north and to the Ohio River in the south.
The canal brought great prosperity to Circleville in many ways. The economy and culture thrived through the resources that ventured through. During construction of the canal, laborers earned 30 cents a day, including board and lodging. Most gross domestic products increased as a result of the many supplies that passed through the canal. Prices of wheat rose from 50 cents in 1829 to $1.08 in 1858. Corn also rose from 25 cents in 1829 to 17 cents in 1858. As the completion of the canal began to change Circleville, it led to an increased amount of business and trade, positively and negatively. Peddlers from the east overrun the area, such as Pickaway County, offering things at unheard prices which our own people were making. The effect of the canal began to distort the prices and economic pattern of Circleville. The canal changed not only Pickaway County, but also the whole state of Ohio. Circleville led to where it is today by the construction and operation of the canal in its earliest days. It held the ground for the growth of Circleville before the start of railroads would take over the reins for changing Pickaway County forever.
The era of canals ended in 1907 for various reasons. One was because of maintenance, and another one was because of inconsistency all year round, and the third one was floods. In 1907, more than 4 inches of rain fell across the southern third of Ohio. The heaviest rain was in March 14th through 16th. 5 to 6 inches fell in a band from Cincinnati eastward through Circleville. The flood of 1907 did more damage than just property damage. The flood of 1907 led the way to the flood of 1913. The flood left 90% of the canal soil saturated. Damage-wise, it cost the states millions and destroyed thousands of businesses and houses. 2 to 3 months worth of rain from March 23rd through March 27th in 1913 led to the 1913 flood. Every river in Ohio overflowed its banks, and a flood whose impact would be bigger than current landmark weather events such as Katrina and Sandy. There were over 467 casualties and over 2,200 homes destroyed and over 40,000 damaged, and over $2.5 billion in damage. Circleville wasn't materially affected by the flood of 1913 except indirectly. The flood would have been at 24.2 feet in Circleville. Thanks to basins, it was only at 3 feet at the most. The result of the flood of 1913, the people of Dayton were determined to prevent a future disaster of this magnitude. Governor Cox appointed people to a Dayton Citizenry Commission. They had a 10-day fundraiser that collected over $12 million in 1913. To fund the flood control effort, they hired Arthur Morgan, who was a hydraulical engineer from St. Cloud, Minnesota. Morgan presented 8 different flood control panels to the city of Dayton officials in October 1913.
Even though the Ohio Erie Canal was a monumental breakthrough for Circleville and the rest of Pickaway County, everything must come to an end. The introduction of the railroad system was the next step into modernization for the rest of Pickaway County. The railroad was the result of an 1835 meeting that was opened for traffic locally in 1855. The first railroad that was connected with Pickaway County was the Cincinnati, Wilmington, and Zanesville Railroad. The main purpose of the construction of the railroads was for a faster and more efficient way of travel and of transporting goods more abroad. The railroad system and the canal system were very similar. The only difference is the fact that one was just plain out more efficient. Both systems were set up in order to increase transportation rate and to create a more modernized city or state, but the railroads were just more industrialized than the canal. The railroads were much faster, could carry more freight, there was less maintenance required, and connected destinations more abroad throughout the country, and had many less obstacles met in construction than of the canal.